few issues are more hotly debated in our state than teacher pay, how much a teacher should be paid, and how that figure should be determined. New data from the National Education Association, the NEA, the powerful teachers union, sheds some light on the discussion. Joining us to talk about it is Dr. Terry Stoops. He is the John Locke Foundation's Director of Research and Education Studies. Terry, welcome back.
Thank you.
What's in the NEA report?
Every year, the National Education Association puts out a report that estimates average teacher salary for the 50 states and D.C. And in this year's report, North Carolina was ranked 41st in average teacher pay. This is an improvement of 1 spot over last year and 7 spots over the last 3 years. So North Carolina's average teacher pay is moving up significantly, but we're still in the 40s. We're at 41.
Why have we moved up?
Well, there have been significant increases in teacher pay. The Republicans have increased for teacher pay in North Carolina by around over 10% at this point. And if once we start factoring in what the increase will look like this year, it'll probably end up being more like 15%. So there have been significant increases in teacher pay. Now, one of the issues is that this is largely a reflection of the age of the teacher workforce. Younger teachers are paid less, and therefore that brings the average down. So you always have to keep factors like that in mind when looking at averages for teacher pay, is that it's very sensitive to experience, and North Carolina has a lot of young teachers.
Speaking of those young teachers, there was some movement, an increase in early career teacher pay. Tell us about that.
Yes, early teacher pay received a significant boost over the last couple of years. We're now up to $35,000 a year. Now, that's the entry-level salary for a teacher in North Carolina, but that doesn't mean that that's what all new teachers make. That does not include a lot of local supplements that add to that teacher pay. For example, in Wake County, a starting teacher pay a teacher would be paid around $41,000 a year. This is an entry-level salary. When you factor in what the local supplement would be, and a lot of other districts are approaching the $40,000 mark. So this is significant for recruiting purposes. If we want more teachers to come to North Carolina, we can plausibly say, once you get here, Mr. or Mrs. New Teacher, you will make around $40,000 a year. And I think that's a very good selling point for the state.
Does that include the other benefits that come in the comp package?
No, it doesn't. That's just the base salary. The compensation package as a whole, you would have to add around $16,000 worth of benefits that teachers receive. These include Social Security contribution, contribution to their pension, and health insurance. And that's valued at about $16,000. So when you add all of the compensation together, the average teacher compensation in North Carolina exceeds $60,000 a year.
So teachers in North Carolina are eligible for a traditional pension, the type of pension that in the private sector, much of that has gone away.
That's right, and the amount contributed by the state is significant. Around $6,000 per teacher per year get deposited in their retirement account, and not only that, they'll receive Social Security, which the state is also paying into. So very generous retirement benefits for our teachers, and of course the health insurance is much added benefit as well.
So North Carolina definitely moving up the ranks. And again, this is data from the National Education Association. Plus, when you look at that entire compensation package, the numbers tend to rise. But Terry, the fact is the critics, and we're hearing them right now as teacher pay is debated in the state legislature, they say that's still really low, that we're not doing well in North Carolina. You have written that there is another factor to really look at when you're talking about full compensation, and that is cost of living.
Yeah, I adjusted the NEA salaries for cost of living because when you look at just the averages, it tends to misrepresent where and how much that money will go in being able to afford the lifestyle that you want in a given state. So when I made that adjustment, North Carolina rose to 33rd. Highest in teacher pay because our cost of living is below the national average. You start looking at states that have a very high cost of living, and I'll point out Hawaii has the highest cost of living. they pay their teachers significantly more on the surface than we pay our teachers here in North Carolina. But once you factor in cost of living, they have one of the lowest levels of pay in the nation because their money just doesn't go very far. And it's like that for a lot of other states that have a very high cost of living, is that, we're really blessed here in North Carolina to be able to have a cost of living that's lower than the national average that allows our dollars to go farther.
Now, we know that the budget that is being negotiated and probably will become final within the next few days, there are proposals of different levels, but everyone seems to agree that teachers are going to get some sort of an increase in pay through this new budget year. What do you make of some of the ideas floating around?
Well, all of the ideas basically have a few things in common. Number one, they would be a pay increase that's not based on any sort of merit or performance-based pay. These are pays that would, that would award teachers based on the experience level that they're at. There is no reinstatement of other types of pay, such as master's degree pay, so that isn't on the table at all. And a lot of these plans have bonuses involved, ranging from $1,000 to $2,000. So these plans would essentially, you take them together, would get North Carolina's average teacher pay around the $50,000 a year mark in the first year. The Senate is talking about a larger increase for the next 2 years, would be around $55,000 a year over the over the next 2 years. So there are some differences in the percentage increases. The House came in at about 4.1, the governor about 5%. So I don't think these are major differences. I don't think it's going to stall the passage of the budget or anything like that. Teachers are going to receive a significant raise. And the irony of this is that if the Democrats were in charge and they passed this level of pay increase, the groups like the National Education Association would be dancing in the streets celebrating it. But because these are Republicans, no matter how much they increase teacher pay, it will be criticized by those on the left.
You mentioned something interesting a moment ago that I'd like to ask you to delve into. Merit pay. Exactly what is that, and why doesn't North Carolina engage in it?
Well, performance-based pay essentially gives teachers additional monies based on the performance of their students, really not consistently in North Carolina. We did have some merit-based programs in the past. For example, we would award schools additional funds if their students reached a certain level on state tests. There's a lot of apprehension about using a merit-based or performance-based system because there isn't a one-size-fits-all plan that have seemed to work in other states. But I think we have the tools here in North Carolina to actually make it a reality. This would not lower in any way the person's salary. This would essentially award our best teachers additional money. And I think that if we had a plan that was focused on awarding our high achievers, that would be probably a great place to start. And we do have the tools here in North Carolina to make that happen.
Well, Terry, once that budget is final, we'll have you back. We'll take a look at the impact on teachers and taxpayers in the budget once that is done. We've been talking with Dr. Terry Stoops. He is the John Locke Foundation's Director of Research and Education Studies. You can read all of his work at johnlocke.org and carolinajournal.com. Terry, thank you.
Thank you.